King Charles welcomed some of Britain's biggest stars to Buckingham Palace for a special garden party celebrating 50 years of the King's Trust. Among the famous faces, Ant and Dec surprised His Majesty with a yearbook gift.
Something unexpected happened at a royal garden party, leaving guests stunned and cameras racing to capture every second. Ant and Dec, the beloved British presenting duo, stepped into a moment no one saw coming when they arrived with a surprise for King Charles himself. What followed was a lighthearted exchange filled with laughter, curiosity, and royal charm. As the garden party quickly turned into an unforgettable scene no one expected to unfold in such a relaxed, cheerful setting among dignitaries and guests. So what really happened that day? So, what do you think? Was Ant and Dec's surprise gift for King Charles one of the most memorable moments of the day? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal moments, please subscribe. A royal garden party. The celebration was already full of famous faces, conversations, and excitement when attention suddenly shifted. Guests were enjoying warm smiles, laughter, and light conversations as the royal garden party unfolded in a cheerful mood. Everything seemed calm and beautifully arranged, with people moving gently across the garden and enjoying the special day. Then, without warning, something changed the atmosphere in an instant. Ant McPartlin and Declan Donnelly stepped forward carrying a surprise for King Charles III. At first, no one could clearly see what they were holding, which only made the moment more intriguing. The sight quickly drew attention from nearby guests and dignitaries who turned to understand what was happening. Whispers began to spread as people tried to guess what kind of gift could be important enough for such a moment. After all, surprises at a royal event are rare, especially ones directed straight at the king. Even seasoned guests leaned in, eager not to miss a single detail of what would happen next. The air felt charged with curiosity, as if something memorable was about to unfold right before everyone's eyes. No one could predict that this lighthearted garden gathering was about to turn into a moment everyone would talk about. All eyes remained fixed on Ant and Dec as they moved closer to the king, carrying the mysterious item with care. Whatever it was, it clearly held meaning, and the anticipation in the air grew stronger with every passing second. The garden party, once calm and elegant, now felt like the center of an unfolding royal surprise. Guests exchanged glances, unsure whether to smile, clap, or simply wait for what would come next. Every second added more suspense, making the moment feel even more special and unforgettable. All that remained was the question hanging in the air. What surprise had Ant and Dec brought for the king? In that very moment, the entire garden seemed to pause, as if time itself was waiting for the reveal that no one had been prepared for. Not even the closest guests, standing just a few steps away from the unfolding scene, all wondering whether this surprise would bring laughter, emotion, or something far more memorable that would be spoken about long after the event ended today there in the air. The gesture from Ant and Dec presenting a surprise gift to King Charles at the garden party left everyone curious about what it could be. But would the gift truly match the stature of one of the greatest kings in the world? What could the duo possibly present that the king would truly cherish? Now, let's uncover the gift that holds something much bigger: the powerful royal keepsake. What seemed at first like a simple and polite gift soon turned into something much deeper and more touching than anyone expected. When Ant McPartlin and Declan Donnelly stepped forward, they carefully presented a beautifully made commemorative yearbook to King Charles III. At first glance, it looked like a collection of photos and written messages meant to celebrate a special occasion. The pages were neatly arranged, filled with familiar faces, warm smiles, and moments captured over the years. But as the story behind it began to unfold, it became clear that this was not just an ordinary book. Hidden within its pages was something far more powerful. It carried years of memories, heartfelt stories, and personal reflections from many different people. Each page seemed to represent a moment in time, showing how lives had been touched, supported, or even changed through different royal events and public efforts. What made it even more meaningful was the emotion behind every message, as people shared their gratitude, their struggles, and their hope for the future. As King Charles looked through it, the yearbook revealed itself to be more than paper and ink. It felt like a living record of the connection between the monarchy and the public, showing how small acts and big efforts had created a lasting impact over time. Every photo and note added another layer of meaning, turning the gift into something deeply personal and emotional. In that moment, the mood across the garden party quietly changed. What had started as a joyful and light celebration suddenly carried a deeper emotional feeling. The simple gift had become far more than a present. It turned into a touching symbol of shared memories, kindness, and the countless lives that had been changed over the years, often in ways many people never truly saw. Even after the book was closed, its meaning lingered in the air, as guests quietly reflected on what they had just witnessed, realizing that this was more than a ceremonial gift. It was a bridge between past and present, between public service and personal stories, and between the crown and the people it represents. Many around the garden party continued to speak in tones impressed by the depth of thought behind such a simple-looking item. It reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest gestures can carry the greatest emotional weight and leave a lasting impression on history. Ant and Dec presented a special commemorative yearbook to the king as a gift, filled with photographs and heartfelt messages. But what stories did those photographs truly tell? Who were the people behind those powerful moments? And were the stories about struggle, victory, or perhaps both? Let's uncover the emotional details behind it all. The heartfelt, real-life stories. As the true meaning behind the gift slowly became clearer, its emotional weight grew stronger with every passing moment. What first seemed like a simple and thoughtful present was now revealing itself as something far more personal and deeply moving. Inside the commemorative yearbook were not just pictures or written notes, but real-life stories shared by staff members, volunteers, and young people who had been touched in different ways over the years. Each page carried a voice. Some came from people who had once faced difficult challenges but later found support at the right time. Others were from volunteers who gave their time and energy to help those in need, never expecting anything in return. There were also stories from young people whose lives had taken completely new directions because someone believed in them when they needed it most. These were not just words on paper. They were moments of real life, filled with hope, struggle, and change. Behind every page stood a real person with a real journey. Some had gone through hard times, unsure of what their future would look like. Others had once felt lost, but eventually found strength and guidance through programs, kind individuals, or community efforts connected to royal initiatives. Each story was different, but they were all linked by one powerful idea. Support can change lives in ways no one can always see right away. As King Charles continued turning the pages of the yearbook, a quiet feeling seemed to settle across the room. People watched closely, sensing that they were witnessing something much deeper than an ordinary gift. It no longer felt like a simple collection of photos and memories. Instead, it had become a powerful reflection of real human connection, compassion, and hope, showing how even the smallest acts of kindness and steady support can slowly grow into moments that completely change people's lives forever. What made it even more touching was the honesty in each story. There was no exaggeration, just a simple truth told by people who had lived through it. In that moment, the yearbook felt less like a ceremonial item and more like a bridge between lives, experiences, and emotions that might otherwise never have been seen together in one place. The gift presented by Ant and Dec carried emotional stories of people whose lives have been impacted over the years. But what gave the duo access to such information? Could they have been involved in a special initiative that allowed them to hear these accounts? And what kind of project gave them access to meaningful stories? Let's find out. A 25-year bond revealed. The surprise carried a deeper meaning, because it was far from a random or sudden appearance. It was not just a celebrity moment or a light entertainment act at a royal event. Instead, it was something built on many years of trust, shared purpose, and real commitment. Ant McPartlin and Declan Donnelly were no strangers to this kind of work. For around 25 years, they had been closely connected with the King's Trust, supporting its goals and standing behind its mission to help young people build better lives. Over those years, their involvement had gone beyond simple public support. They had attended events, shared stories, encouraged donations, and helped shine a light on the importance of giving young people opportunities. Year after year, they continued to show up, not because they had to, but because they believed in what the organization stood for. This long connection slowly built something stronger than just professional involvement. It built respect, familiarity, and genuine appreciation on both sides. That was exactly why this moment felt so different from an ordinary royal presentation. The gift Ant and Dec brought was not simply another item prepared for a public event or a carefully planned moment for cameras and headlines. It carried years of memories, dedication, and shared experiences within it. It reflected a long journey built through support and commitment alongside King Charles and the cause they deeply believed in. Because of that, the garden party suddenly felt warmer and more personal, creating an atmosphere filled with sincerity, emotion, and a connection that touched everyone watching. When Ant and Dec stepped forward, it was not just two entertainers meeting a king. It was two longtime supporters expressing gratitude in their own way. Their presence and the carefully prepared gift felt like a quiet thank you for years of dedication, teamwork, and belief in a shared mission. It showed that their relationship with the King's Trust had grown into something meaningful over time, built on real actions rather than appearances. In that moment, the surprise became more than a simple gesture. It turned into a symbol of long-standing partnership and mutual respect. What might have looked like a short appearance on the surface was actually the result of decades of connection, making the entire scene feel warm, genuine, and deeply personal for everyone watching. Beyond Ant and Dec's 25 years of involvement with the King's Trust, which made it fitting for them to present such a meaningful gift to the King, did guests already know the King would be present at the event? Or was his appearance also a surprise at the party? And how were they received when they arrived? Let's find out. A playful royal twist. The unexpected moments at the royal garden party did not end with the earlier surprise. In fact, the event seemed to keep unfolding in ways no one could easily predict. Just when guests thought things had settled down and the focus would return to Ant McPartlin and Declan Donnelly, another twist caught everyone off guard. At one point, many people believed that Ant and Dec were about to take center stage again, perhaps to continue the lighthearted presentation or share a few words. All eyes began to shift in their direction, and there was a quiet sense of anticipation building once more. Guests leaned slightly forward, waiting to see what would happen next, expecting another moment from the well-known presenting duo. But instead of what they were expecting, something completely different happened. King Charles III and Queen Camilla suddenly appeared, stepping into view in a way that felt both surprising and perfectly timed. The shift was so quick and playful that it took many guests a second to fully understand what they were seeing. For a brief moment there was confusion, followed almost immediately by smiles as the realization set in. The unexpected appearance created a warm wave of laughter across the gathering. People who had been watching so closely couldn't help but react to the light, almost playful switch. What made it even more enjoyable was how natural it all felt, as if the moment had been carefully planned not just as a formal royal appearance, but as something lighthearted meant to bring joy to everyone present. Ant and Dec had already filled the gathering with warmth, smiles, and a cheerful energy, but the unexpected arrival of the king and queen suddenly lifted the excitement even higher. Guests exchanged surprised smiles and amused looks, while some gently shook their heads in disbelief, amazed at how quickly an ordinary moment had turned into such an unexpected and delightful surprise. In that brief moment, the garden party felt less like a formal royal event and more like a shared celebration filled with surprises and laughter. The playful switch between expectations and reality reminded everyone that even at the highest level of tradition and ceremony, there is still room for warmth, humor, and unexpected joy that brings people together in the most natural way. Guests at the garden party were surprised by the arrival of the king and queen. But did their lack of prior knowledge about the king's presence make the event feel less significant? How were guests received in such a large, lively gathering? Was everyone welcomed and treated equally? Now let's dive into how the Buckingham Palace grounds came alive. A historic royal celebration. The grounds of Buckingham Palace had transformed into something far greater than just a royal setting for an ordinary gathering. On this special day, the space felt alive with energy, color, and emotion, as thousands of people came together for a shared purpose. It was not just about tradition or ceremony anymore. It had become a full celebration of impact, connection, and history. People from different walks of life filled the gardens, each one bringing their own story, their own reason for being there. Some had been directly supported through programs that changed their lives, while others had come to show respect, gratitude, or simple admiration for the work being celebrated. The air was filled with conversation, laughter, and the sound of people reconnecting after many years. This gathering marked 50 years of changing lives, and that meaning could be felt in every corner of the palace grounds. It was a moment to look back at how far things had come, and also to look forward with hope for what was still possible. The sense of achievement was strong, but so was the feeling that the journey was not over yet. As guests walked through the beautifully arranged gardens, there was a constant feeling of excitement building in the atmosphere. Every performance, every speech, and every appearance added another layer of anticipation to the day. People were not just watching an event unfold. They were part of something much bigger, something that represented decades of effort and dedication. The excitement could be seen almost everywhere as smiles spread across faces and joyful conversations filled the air. Many guests shared touching memories of lives that had changed over the years, creating emotional moments between friends and strangers alike. Even people who had only recently discovered the cause could still feel the deep meaning and special energy surrounding the celebration. What made it even more powerful was the unity in the crowd. Despite their different backgrounds, everyone was connected by the same purpose. The palace grounds, usually associated with formality and tradition, now felt warm, welcoming, and full of life. By the time the celebration was in full swing, it was clear that this was more than just a royal event. It was a milestone, a tribute, and a reminder of 50 years of real change, brought to life in a way that felt deeply human and unforgettable for everyone present. Beyond the thousands of people who attended the garden party, were well-known figures also present? And what impact did their presence add to the occasion? Did the biggest stories come from these celebrities, or from somewhere else entirely? Let's uncover the astonishing details. From red carpets to real lives. Well-known guests such as Idris Elba, George Clooney, Amal Clooney, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Rita Ora brought even more attention and excitement to the celebration. Their presence naturally drew cameras, headlines, and public interest, making the event feel even grander and more widely discussed. For many people watching or attending, seeing such familiar and respected names in one place added a sense of glamour and importance to the occasion. However, beyond the flashing cameras and the famous faces, there was a much deeper and quieter side to the celebration that often went unnoticed at first glance. While celebrities helped shine a spotlight on the event, they were not the heart of the story. Behind them were countless individuals whose names might never appear in headlines, but whose experiences carried the true meaning of the gathering. These were people whose lives had been changed in powerful ways through support, opportunity, and guidance over the years. Some had once struggled with difficult situations, unsure of what direction their future would take. Others had faced personal challenges that made even small steps forward feel impossible at the time. But through different programs, mentorship, and community help connected to the cause being celebrated, their lives slowly began to change. As these quieter stories slowly came to light, the deeper meaning behind the celebration became impossible to ignore. Young people discovered talents and confidence they never knew existed within them. Families who had faced years of uncertainty finally found stability and a fresh start. Others who once felt overlooked and forgotten now stood with hope and purpose again. Though every journey was different, they were all connected by one powerful reality. Lives had truly changed in meaningful and lasting ways. What made this moment so special was the contrast between the public spotlight and these personal journeys. While the celebrities brought visibility and attention, it was the everyday people who gave the event its true emotional depth. Their experiences showed that behind every large celebration, there are real human lives that have been shaped, lifted, and supported along the way. In the end, the presence of famous guests helped amplify the message, but it was the quiet, powerful stories of transformation that gave the celebration its real heart and meaning. Aside from well-known figures attending the event, there were also emotional stories from people whose lives had been transformed. But what was the most meaningful story of the day? Was the event truly delivering the impact it was created for? Now let's unravel how a single act of support transformed lives. From beneficiaries to leaders. One of the most meaningful and touching parts of the entire day came from the people who had once been on the receiving end of help themselves. These were individuals whose lives had already been changed in earlier years through support, guidance, and opportunity. At that time, they had come in needing a chance, a push in the right direction, or someone who simply believed in them. And now, they were back again, but in a very different role. Instead of returning as beneficiaries, they had grown into something more. Some had become mentors, offering advice and encouragement to others who were just starting their own difficult journeys. Others were now outreach workers, actively going into communities to find and support young people who needed help, just like they once did. Some had become strong supporters of the same programs that once helped them, giving their time, energy, and voices to keep the work going. Seeing them in these new roles made the moment even more powerful. It was not just about what they had received in the past, but about what they had become because of it. Their presence showed that real support does not stop at one moment. Instead, it can grow, multiply, and continue shaping lives in ways no one can fully predict at the beginning. Many of them shared how a single opportunity had completely changed the direction of their lives. What once felt like a small chance had slowly turned into a turning point, opening doors they never thought would be possible. Over time, that one moment of help had built confidence, skills, and belief in themselves. And now, they were passing that same chance on to others. What made this even more moving was the sense of a full circle in their journeys. They had once stood in the same position as those they were now helping. They understood the fear, the doubt, and the uncertainty because they had lived through it themselves. That understanding made their support even more real and heartfelt. In the end, their stories proved something very important. One act of help can continue to grow far beyond the moment it is given. It can travel through time, move from person to person, and keep changing lives in ways that reach much further than anyone ever expected. Beyond former beneficiaries going on to become more impactful and now supporting others in roles they once needed help with, how did the event end? Did everything play out as planned? Or were there unexpected moments along the way? And what unforgettable moment did the king display? Let's uncover the interesting details. A royal finale like no other. Just when the day already felt like it could not become any more unforgettable, another surprising and joyful moment unfolded in front of the guests. The celebration had already been filled with meaningful speeches, warm reunions, emotional stories, and unexpected highlights. People thought they had seen it all. The atmosphere was relaxed but still full of excitement, as everyone slowly began to believe the event was gently winding down. But then, something completely unexpected happened, changing the atmosphere in an instant once again. Near the DJ booth, attention slowly drifted as guests spotted Idris Elba standing confidently beside the music setup, already radiating his natural energy and charm. His presence alone was enough to draw curious eyes from across the crowd. People began to whisper and smile, sensing that something special might still unfold. A fresh wave of curiosity filled the air as everyone leaned forward, eager and unsure, wondering if one final surprise was about to close the unforgettable day. Then came the moment nobody had predicted. King Charles III stepped forward and joined Idris Elba at the DJ booth. For a brief second, there was a wave of disbelief across the crowd. It was not the kind of sight people expected at a royal celebration. The king, in such a relaxed and informal setting, standing side by side with a well-known entertainer, immediately changed the entire mood of the gathering. Then, with a light and playful gesture, King Charles reached toward the equipment and helped start the music. It was simple, spontaneous, and completely unforced, but it carried a strong sense of joy that instantly spread through the crowd. The moment the music came alive, the reaction was immediate. Cheers broke out loudly across the garden. Guests smiled, laughed, and clapped, clearly surprised but delighted by what they were witnessing. Phones went up, capturing a moment that felt more like a festival finale than a formal royal appearance. The energy in the air shifted completely. What had been a graceful celebration suddenly turned into something more relaxed, personal, and full of life. What made this moment so special was not just who was involved, but how natural it all felt. There was no distance, no stiffness, and no sense of formality in that brief exchange. Instead, it showed a lighter side of the day, where tradition met modern energy most unexpectedly. As music filled the air and cheers continued to rise from the crowd, the celebration reached a truly unforgettable ending. Laughter echoed across the gathering as surprise moments and joyful reactions brought people even closer together. It became a beautiful final scene overflowing with excitement, warmth, and happiness. An ending nobody expected, yet one that would remain in memories for years to come. So, what do you think about the king's surprise gift? And which moment from the event fascinated you the most? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.